Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Thumbs up, thumbs down, and if you've been having a good day. All right. Okay. Mostly a good day. That's great to hear. Okay. I'm Gagan. I'm a product engineer at Anthropic. I work on a wide variety of things from improving our models with specific tasks to building agent harnesses to working with some of our biggest customers to actually implement agent use cases, as well as a wide variety of other things. So, really, my day is a mixed bag. Uh, Today, I'm here to talk about how we've seen the evolution of agentic surfaces, specifically agent building interfaces that folks are acclimated to, and how that's evolved over time, and how it's kind of culminated in what we have built recently called cloud managed agents. It is a product, but I just want to talk more about the evolution and then various use cases and things like that. So excited to share more. We'll cover core concepts like how managed agents works. There is a portion of this that's like a hands-on workshop, but we're not going to do a hands-on workshop today. I don't think we have enough time, so I'll just cover how that would work, and then we'll talk about beyond the basics and what we can get started with later on. So to start off with, I know all of you are used to building agents before, and at the beginning of the sunrise of large language models and AI, we had this offering called the Messages API. And I'm sure a lot of folks are here familiar with it. And what we provided was just tokens in and tokens out, right? So this is just Claude, you give it the input, and then you get the next token predictions. That was Messages API. And as things became more complicated and you had to build more complicated agents and loops and workflows, there was still a need for you to manage and build your own agentic loop, manage your context, do tool execution, session state and recovery, handling auth, observability, custom tool logic. All of this was still yours to build. And so there was still a problem in managing all of these. We then saw the rise of Claude Code, which is our take on an agentic harness, and we wrapped that into something called the Claude Agent SDK. And this agent SDK essentially provided that agentic loop and harness. It provided context management. It provided built-in tool executions, a sandbox, and a file system capability. And under the hood, it still uses the Messages API for tokens in and tokens out, right? But you still had to manage hosting and scaling, session state, observability, custom tool logic, etc. There was still a lot of work that you had to do to take your agent to production. The third iteration, and this is kind of the evolution of agentic services, is what we call Claude managed agents. And the idea is that you come with just your task and your agent configuration, and you come with any of your custom tool logic, and Anthropic handles the purpose-built harness, the tool runtime and sandbox, the session state, persistence, and checkpointing, auth, credential vaults, and storing API keys securely for your other services. And of course, hosting, scaling, observability. You don't have to worry about that out of the box. And of course, under the hood is tokens in, tokens out. And this is how we've kind of seen the evolution of what interfaces developers use to build agents. And so really, Claude managed agents, something that's fairly new, is our fastest way to build and ship transformative agentic products. If you want to go from idea to actually having a highly feature-rich agent in your product, I would recommend you start with Claude managed agents. And I'll show you how you can get started pretty quick, and it'll kind of illustrate how quickly you can take stuff to production. Because oftentimes we found that customers spend a bit of time, like it takes hours to get to a prototype, and then weeks to actually ship your agent to production because there's so much to handle around the actual agent product. So there's three primary resources in Claude managed agents. First is the persona and capabilities, what your agent is, which model it uses, the prompts, tools, MCP servers, skills. All of this is versioned and immutable, so you can iterate on those and roll back if needed. The second is infrastructure and guardrails. What container does your model live in? How does the networking boundary of that container, what is it defined? And what are the allowed hosts? What is not allowed? Things like that. The environment that your agent lives in, that's the second resource we expose. And third is the actual sessions resource, which is you take your agent configuration, and then you take the environment that you configured, and then you spin up your session, right? So three simple resources. There's a few more like richer API things that I can talk about later, but these are the core things that you can use to configure and ship your agent in blazing fast time. And as a reminder, with Claude managed agents, the agentic loop is running server side. What this means is that the orchestration and execution of the agent is happening in the cloud. And what you're doing is essentially handling and directing that agentic loop in the cloud. So your events go in and you push the agent in different directions as needed. And you can close your laptop and the agent is still running in the cloud. That's the analogy. And a key architectural change has occurred, which is previously the agent loop and the tool execution used to happen in the same container as where the agent was hosted. This meant that every single time you had to start an agent, there was a high latency cost, and it was a single point of failure. If the container went down, then your agentic loop goes down. With Claude managed agents, the agent loop is uh, separated from the actual sandbox. So the brain, the model is separated from the hands, from the tools, from the sandbox. Because not every agent use case needs a sandbox, and it can only be spun up when needed. And this is a critical architecture difference because it allows you to scale allows us to scale way more quickly, and for you to have much lower latency and higher reliability. So there's a hands-on workshop, but we won't have time again to get into this because of the lightning talk. I gave this talk at Code with Claude, which is our developer conference, and you can check it out. There's an open source repo, GitHub, Anthropic organization, and CWC workshops. There's a folder in there that shows how you can ship your first managed agent. It's like an SRE agent, and I'll walk through that right now. So let's say you have an incident and your checkout service is more than high baseline, wouldn't it have been nice if there was like an SRE agent with a full rich set of capabilities that can investigate and find what's going wrong? Well, in this workshop, we kind of walk through how to implement that, and it's quite simple. So as I said before, first you define what your agent is. So you write this piece of, like a small piece of code. Of course, Claude will write it for you. But you write this piece of code that kind of describes the tools the agent has, the model you would use, and the name of it. And immediately when you do that, it's persisted in the cloud. And then you define where your container is. So you will define like the networking boundaries, like how much internet access the model has, things like that. And you persist that in the cloud, you get a unique ID. And then you mount any data you want. So if you want to upload a log file for the agent to use when investigating stuff, you can upload that. If you want to upload any skills, you can do that. And all of this is persisted in the cloud. And then you use the agent and environment that I talked about, and you start the session, right? You use the agent ID, environment, and start the session. And this agent in the cloud will have a real sandbox that it can use to do the same grep, glob capabilities to use and find the root cause of the issue you're experiencing. And all of this, as you're writing this code, this is production grade. So when you're happy with your agent, you can use that same agent ID, same environment, and then you can put this into your product and ship it as a real agent on your platform. The scalability comes built in, so when you're ready with your agent prototype, you can serve it to your users with minimal changes needed. And as a reminder, sessions speak in events, and some of this, of course, these things may change, so just double check when you're using the managed agents API. But the idea is from the cloud, you will get events about what the agent is doing, and you would send events back to control and see what control and move its direction. So just to illustrate this, the cloud agent is actually running in the cloud, and you would get any custom tool use if there's any local needs, or if it's just the MCP server, it'll directly reach out and you can kind of handle and orchestrate the agent from your product. You don't have to worry about actually hosting the agent, etc. All you have to worry about is providing it the right context and providing it the right task when needed. And this is just a snippet of code that opens the streams and sends the messages. And this is not necessarily relevant. And as a reminder, the conversation lives in the cloud. And some of this code is, it's no longer in beta, so ignore this. But the conversation lives in the cloud, so the sessions are essentially persisted. So you can create multi-session persistence, and you can list out all the sessions you have in the cloud with a simple command. No need to worry about how to persist a transcript, store it, read from it, etc. And there's way more features. There's sub agents or multi agents where you can spin off like agents in a hierarchy, memory, so you can learn from your sessions and remember things over time, and your agent gets better. There's dreaming, which is not mentioned here, that kind of uh, learns from transcripts over time and implements skills and improves the memory store to perform better in the future. Outcomes, which iterates on a product multiple times, kind of like a Ralph Wiggum loop, but like iterates on it to give a high quality output. Vaults, which is super important because it allows you to store your credentials in a highly safe manner. MCP servers, webhooks, permission policies, interrupts. There's also even a console agent builder where you can go into the Anthropic console and describe in plain text what agent you want, and you get a production grade configuration that you can use in your product. And there's also scheduled and triggered agents. Let's say you want your agent to run automatically regularly at 1 a.m. every day. You want a daily digest every morning at 8 a.m. And you want that for your users. They're scheduled and triggered, which allows you to set up your agents like a cron job that runs at a scheduled manner. And so with that, today we were able to hopefully get the mental model of managed agents, the evolution. We didn't ship a working agent quite yet, but you can do that with the link provided. And then you also know where to go next. There's way more features. It's highly feature rich. And if you have any questions, like feel free to just email me or LinkedIn me. It's just Gagan at Anthropic, and then we can go ahead and take a look at any feature requests as well. So with that, I'm excited for everyone to get started and looking forward to speaking with folks here. So thank you for taking the time.